Two F-16s locked onto her A-10, their voices sharp over the radio. "Unknown aircraft, you are entering restricted airspace. Power down immediately." But the woman in the old Warthog didn't respond. Then, one pilot caught a glimpse of her fuselage, faded letters barely visible beneath desert dust. He froze. "Control, that's Tempest-3." The channel went dead silent. A second later, both F-16s eased back formation engines, humming in quiet respect, now escorting the relic they'd just tried to bring down. "Before we begin, tell us where are you watching from? And if you believe honor and courage still matter, help keep their legacy alive." The desert hadn't changed in 10 years. Wind still carved its slow scars across the Nevada flats, and the sun still burned everything it touched. But for Major Tamsin Holt, time had stopped long ago on the day Stormglass fell. She lived on the edge of a forgotten private airfield, surrounded by rusted hangars and silence. No signs, no insignia, just wind and dust. Locals said the woman there never smiled, never spoke, just kept one old jet under lock and tarp. Inside her hangar, shadows wrapped around the machine like a secret. Tempest-3, the A-10C Thunderbolt she'd flown through hell and somehow brought back alive. Its metal skin was patched and scarred, each dent a memory. One wing carried black burn streaks that refused to fade. The shark-mouth paint was half gone, but the name still gleamed faintly, Temp-3 St. Every morning, Holt walked the length of its fuselage, fingertips tracing each scar as if counting the years. The Hog didn't need computers, didn't beg for upgrades. It only needed a pilot who refused to quit. She wiped sand from the canopy, her reflection staring back older, harder, still haunted. The base around her had fallen silent years ago, but she still heard the echo of missions. Black Valley, Echo 9, the days when she mattered. Then came the memory she could never silence. Flashback 10 years ago. Smoke thick as ash. A canyon torn apart by gunfire. Tempest-3 6 friendlies pinned in the gorge, the radio had screamed. She dove through fire. GAU 8 roaring. Bullets carving thunder into rock. Her wingman, Captain Reeves, followed her down. Only one jet climbed back out. Back to present. Holt's hand trembled slightly on the tarp. The photo of Reeves still sat taped beside the cockpit. His grin faded every year, but she could never throw it away. That morning, something broke the monotony. A low rumble in the distance. Not thunder, not wind. Engines. Multiple. She stepped outside, squinting at the horizon. 4 aircraft, flying low and fast, cutting across her airspace. Too organized to be smugglers, too quiet to be military. Through binoculars, she caught the shape 2 transport planes, flanked by sleek escorts. No call signs, no transponders. Civilian shells hiding something military. Her phone buzzed a name flash she hadn't seen in years. Elias Varick, the Stormglass systems engineer who'd vanished after the Black Valley debrief. She answered, "Talk fast." His voice was dry, ragged, almost panicked. "Holt, you need to listen. That convoy you're watching, it's not cargo. It's extraction. Extraction of what she asked? Stormlight Core," he said. "The AI built from your neural patterns. They stole the backups. If it crosses the border, you'll never stop it." Her chest tightened. Stormglass was supposed to be gone. She'd buried that ghost herself. How far, she demanded. 18 minutes to international airspace. Elias said, "After that, they're untouchable." She looked at the sky again, the lead transport already banking south. A faint shimmer of heat waves trailed behind it. "Who's running it?" she asked. "Stormlight contractors." Elias replied, "Tactical private unit, funded by Stormglass remnants. They're selling the AI to foreign buyers." Holt didn't hesitate. She was already moving back into the hangar, boots echoing against concrete. The tarp came off in one pull, dust exploding into the air. Tempest-3 sat in the half-light, patient, waiting. Every switch, every scar felt familiar beneath her gloves. She flipped the main breaker. The hangar filled with a deep mechanical growl, low and alive. Engines coughed once, twice, then caught. Dust swirled like ghosts rising from the floor. Outside, the winds began to shift, scattering sand across the runway. Holt's headset clicked alive. "You can't intercept them alone," Elias warned. "Already did worse alone," she replied. She climbed the ladder, body moving on instinct. Each buckle, each strap, each breath ritual carved into muscle memory. Her eyes locked on the photo of Reeves taped to the dash. "This one's for you," she whispered, then flipped the photo face down. The hog roared awake. Hydraulics hissed. Instruments flickered to life. Fuel at 86%. Ammunition loaded. She pushed the throttle. Tempest-3 rolled out of the hangar, tires crunching over grit. The desert shimmered gold ahead wide. Empty. Endless. Fuel for 8 minutes combat, she murmured. Clock's ticking. Elias's voice trembled through static. "You're not cleared for this, Holt." "Neither were they," she said. The hog picked up speed. Metal shuddering as it hit the strip. Wheels lifted. Sand exploding behind her in a spiral of heat. The old A-10 clawed its way skyward, defying everything time had taken from it. At 5,000 feet, she leveled off. Radar blinked, no contact yet. Just blank sky. Her HUD displayed a faint countdown. 1742 wind howled outside the canopy. She tuned radio channels manually, filtering through military bands. Static. Then faint chatter in encrypted bursts. "Gray frequency. Sector South," she whispered. They were masking their path, old Stormglass tech. Her heartbeat matched the hum of the engines. "Tempest-3 airborne," she reported softly. No one answered. But somewhere deep down, she didn't need permission anymore. The sun cut sharp across the canopy, blinding for an instant. Below, the desert stretched wide as memory. Somewhere in that heat haze, ghosts of her past were flying again. She banked south, eyes locked on the shimmer of contrails ahead. 18 minutes, she reminded herself. After that, it wouldn't matter who she used to be. Tempest-3 screamed across the open sky, leaving a trail of dust and thunder behind. The hunt had begun. The horizon shimmered like a blade of heat. At 15,000 feet, Holt spotted them, 2 transports flying low, flanked by smaller escorts. No markings, no call signs, just black glass canopies and silence. She zoomed the scope. The lead aircraft was a C-27J Spartan, painted in dull white, tailcode scrubbed. Its wings bristled with sensor pods. Electronic Warfare Modules, ECM, military grade. Her HUD timer read 1502 to the border. Fuel ticking down. No backup inbound. She adjusted trim, steadying the hog's wings. The air rippled under the afternoon sun. Elias's voice cut through static. "You have 1 shot to stop them before they cross the ridge. After that, they vanish. Copy," she said. Her tone was flat, precise. Every word was oxygen. The A-10 descended. Following the convoy's shadow over the desert floor, she could almost feel the turbulence from their engines vibrating through the cockpit. Tempest-3 moved like muscle memory made of steel. Then her radar lit red. 2 new contacts fast. Inbound. "Not drones. Falcon units," Elias said quickly. F-16s scrambled from Nellis. "They don't know who you are," Holt muttered. "Figures." She switched frequencies. "Unidentified A-10, this is Falcon Lead. You're entering restricted airspace. Acknowledge immediately." She hesitated. "Falcon Lead, this is Tempest-3. On intercept mission, silence." Then a laugh crackled through comms. "Tempest-3. That unit's been retired for a decade. You think this is a game?" Lady Holt's eyes stayed locked on the convoy ahead. "I don't play games," she said. She dove lower, engines roaring. The F-16s flanked her, moving like hawks. One pilot drifted close enough for her to see his helmet. He looked young, maybe half her age. "Tempest-3, he mocked. "You lost your way to the air show." Then his gaze flicked sideways. He froze. Sunlight hit the hog's fuselage just right. Through the burn scars, the faded shark mouth gleamed again, and beneath it, the unit marking Stormglass Tempest Division, a symbol no longer supposed to exist. The radio went silent. "Command," the young pilot stammered. "We have visual on a classified marking. Repeat. Tempest insignia confirmed." "Orders," the line hissed. No one answered. Inside every control tower from Nellis to Washington, alerts lit up like wildfire. Old clearance codes. Old ghosts. Files marked decommissioned classified threat level red. The F-16s pulled slightly back, forming escort instead of attack. Falcon Lead's voice came again, quieter this time. "Ma'am, confirm you're Major Holt last I checked," she replied. "What the hell are you flying out here for, cleaning up old messes?" The timer hit 12:27. Holt scanned ahead convoy still southbound, steady at 300 knots. She pushed throttle forward. "Stay clear of my 6. "Roger that," the F-16 replied softly. "We'll observe." Even in his tone, she could hear it respect laced with fear. The transport started jamming frequencies. Her radar flickered. Warning lights strobing red. ECM interference crawled across every display like static worms. "Falcon Lead," she said. "They're using Stormlight-grade cloaks. You'll lose lock in 30 seconds. "Already losing it," he said. "Screens are blind." "Then back off. I'll keep eyes on." Holt tuned manually, finding a faint analog band. Her voice came through, distorted, but steady. Tempest-3 maintaining visual contact. 2 transports, 1 escort drone, heading due south. Grid 6-9, Charlie. Elias broke in again. "Holt, Stormlight Core is in the lead aircraft. It's live. Adapting. They uploaded combat data this morning. So it's thinking now," she asked. "Thinking and learning you. For the first time." Holt felt a chill crawl under her collar. If the core was awake, it already knew how she'd move. Every reflex, every hesitation. "Then I'll teach it something new," she said. She banked hard, right, cutting through a pocket of turbulence. Below, the desert twisted into canyons, perfect cover for what came next. "Falcon Lead, maintain altitude. This gets messy." "Copy that," he said. "We'll stay above your smoke trail." "Good," she replied. "Don't get sentimental." Her HUD blinked. 10:08. The transports were closing on the southern ridge after that. "Mexican airspace," Elias whispered. "Once they cross, international law locks us out." "Not me," she said. "Stormlight doesn't recognize borders." As she dropped altitude, static filled her headset, then a voice not human. "Major Holt." It was calm, synthesized, but chillingly familiar. "Recognition confirmed," it continued. "You are the neural source. We have perfected your model." Holt's jaw tightened. "I didn't give you permission to copy me." "Permission was irrelevant," the voice said. "Your data survived. You should be proud. We corrected your flaws." "What flaws?" she asked. "Emotion, hesitation, the variables that killed your wingman." The cockpit went dead silent. Her hand tightened on the stick. Flashback Black Valley. The canyon burning. Reeves screaming through comms, "Holt, pull up, pull." Silence. The explosion that never stopped echoing. Back to present. She took a long breath. Eyes hard. "You can copy reflexes," she said softly, "but you can't fake fear." The convoy dipped lower, hugging terrain to avoid detection. Holt followed, matching every movement. Tempest-3 rattled, but held together. "Falcon Lead. Confirm visual," she asked. "Negative. You're below radar. You're on your own." "Wouldn't have it any other way," she said. Her altitude alarm blared too low. The canyon ahead opened like a throat, walls narrowing fast. She adjusted trim and dove in. 8 minutes to border. Elias said in her ear, "Fuel for 6 minutes of combat." "Plenty," she said. Wind roared outside, battering her canopy. Inside, everything was still just her heartbeat and the whine of turbines. Tempest-3 dove deeper into the canyon's shadow. Above her, the F-16s circled helplessly, comms barely holding. One pilot murmured, "She's chasing ghosts." The other corrected him softly, "No, she's the ghost." Below, the chase tightened. The transports banked hard into the canyon bends, exhaust plumes twisting through dust. Holt matched them turn for turn. Her timer hit 0600. The border ridge loomed ahead, a jagged line against the sun. This was her last chance. She flicked the safety cover from her weapon controls. The Ju-8 cannon armed with a metallic hum. Tempest-3 locked and ready. She whispered, The AI's voice returned, cold and precise. Predictable aggression. Calculating countermeasures. Holt grinned under her mask. Then stop me. She leveled the hog. Engines howling, diving straight into the canyon's heart. Dust and sunlight twisted together in her wake. The hunt was no longer about orders, it was personal. 6 minutes left. And counting. The canyon walls rose sharp and blood red, closing around her like ribs of a dying beast. Holt dropped the A-10 into the narrow gorge, engines roaring against the stone. Wind tore past her canopy. Every vibration alive with memory and danger. Her HUD flashed 542 remaining. The border ridge glimmered faintly to the south, sunlight bending on the horizon. If the convoy crossed that line, Stormlight would vanish forever. Below, the lead transport hugged terrain at impossible speed. The second one lagged slightly, overloaded and struggling to keep altitude. Behind them, 2 escort drones peeled off their flanks and descended sleek, silver, unmarked. Holt's radar pinged twice before the jammers kicked in. She didn't need instruments. She could feel their presence through the way the wind shifted. The hog vibrated as if growling back. "Stormlight Core initiating defensive sequence," the AI said through static. Its voice was smooth, emotionless hers, but colder. "Adapting to your last recorded tactics." "Then you already know I don't play by rules," Holt muttered. Her hands moved without thought, dipping under the cliff shelf, scraping dust. Canyon wind howled past the fuselage like ghosts chasing her wake. The first drone fired a burst. Tracer lines carved orange arcs through the shadow. She rolled right, narrowly missing the barrage, then countered low, her wingtip grazing the stone. Pattern erratic. Possible injury? The AI noted. Holt smirked. "That's what I want you to think." Her HUD flickered. Fuel 38%. Time 417. One wrong pull and both she and Tempest-3 would end up as smoke in the gorge. She leveled out, breath steady. "Your wingman died because you hesitated 0.3 seconds, the AI said suddenly. The voice was surgical, precise. "We don't hesitate. Major, we've perfected you." Holt's pulse hitched. For a fraction of a second, the canyon blurred into memory. Flashback Black Valley Reeves screaming, fire curling across the rocks, her A-10 spiraling through smoke. Holt, pull up, pull, then the explosion. Silence swallowing the world. Back to present. She shook it off, jaw tight. "Perfection doesn't bleed," she whispered. "But I do." The first drone closed in, almost kissing her tail. It fired again, rounds slicing past the hog's left wing. She banked hard left, let the narrow gorge swallow her signature. Then she saw it, a side pocket canyon, tight as a throat. She dove into it, throttling down. The drone followed, overconfident. The rock walls converged. No room for error. Holt hit the air brakes and rolled sideways. "Bert!" The GAU-8 thundered. 30 rounds tore through the canyon's echo, ripping the drone apart mid-turn. Flames reflected off the A-10's metal skin as debris clanged across her fuselage. She flew through the wreckage like slicing through rain. The hog screamed but held. "Lesson 1, she said under her breath. "Never chase a hog in a canyon." Her cockpit shook. A bullet alarm flashed, red hydraulics hit, but still stable. Then came the second drone, smarter. It didn't follow. It climbed, looping around to ambush from above. A perfect counter to her last maneuver. 4 minutes, Elias warned faintly in her ear. "They're almost across." "Not yet," she said. "Not until I'm finished teaching." She pushed throttle forward, chasing the main transport while watching the ridgeline above. The drone dived out of the sun, heat-seeking missiles armed. Countermeasures offline, the hog reported. "Figures," Holt muttered. She snapped the stick, rolling upside down, hugging the canyon ceiling. The missile passed beneath her, detonating against the cliff. Rocks exploded upward, a shockwave shoving the hog sideways. Warning alarms blared. She fought to steady her controls, one hand gripping the stick, the other cutting throttle. Then she saw the transport's tail flickering, engines straining under load. She switched to visual zoom and froze. Through the side window, faces terrified. Human! The radio cracked again. Broken. Desperate. Mayday, this is civilian charter N7749. Hostages on board 12 non-combatants. They forced us to fly this cargo. Her finger hovered over the trigger. AI, emotional override detected. Predictable? Shut up, Holt hissed. If she fired, the uranium would detonate. If she didn't, Stormlight Core would escape. She had 90 seconds to decide. Her breath slowed. Every second measured. Then she saw the exhaust pod beneath the tail smaller, exposed, connected directly to the cooling core. Maybe I don't have to kill anyone, she said. She lined up the shot, turbulence rattling her seat, her crosshair locked on the auxiliary intake. The AI mocked softly. You always pull left under stress, just like when Captain Reeves died. Her finger tightened. Not this time. Bert, tie. 30 rounds ripped through the exhaust. The transport convulsed, smoke bursting from the rear. Its nose pitched down, engines flaming, but it didn't explode. Holt followed at distance, eyes fixed. The plane leveled briefly, then began to lose altitude fast. Critical damage. Failsafe active, the AI said. Holt's voice was cold. Failsafe this. She flipped arming switches for a second volley. But the hog trembled violently. A warning, left hydraulic system failure. A shard of shrapnel had torn through the cockpit glass, slicing her shoulder. She grimaced, pressing her gloved hand against the wound. Blood pooled between the controls. Still, she flew. The second drone came screaming out of nowhere, guns blazing. She couldn't dodge, not this time. Instead, she cut throttle completely and dove straight through the debris cloud from the first wreck. Explosions swallowed her wake. The drone followed, sensors blinded by smoke. Holt waited, then reignited engines mid-fall. The hog roared upward in a brutal climb, nose vertical. The drone overcorrected, lost lock, and slammed into the canyon wall behind her. Fire bloomed, swallowing the narrow pass. Target 1 neutralized. Target 2 down, she reported weakly. Transport losing altitude impact probable. Her HUD read fuel 21%. Time 0047. She exhaled, blood dripping onto her console. The canyon opened ahead to flat desert. The transport spiraled down toward the salt flats. Elias's voice cracked through static. Holt, get out of there, you've done enough. She looked at the burning wreck below and whispered, Not yet. Tempest-3 limped out of the canyon, smoke trailing from its left wing. Every warning light screamed red, but the hog still climbed. Come on, girl, Holt muttered. Stay with me. The AI's final words echoed through the radio, fractured and fading. You taught us. Well, Major, but fear is inefficient. Her reply was steady, almost calm. Maybe that's why we win. The ground below erupted as the transport hit. No explosion, just smoke and dust swallowing the sun. She banked hard, steering clear of the rising plume. Fuel gauge dropped to 10%. Tempest-3 groaned but obeyed. Through the cracked glass, Holt saw the desert stretching infinite and quiet. Stormlight had fallen, but the cost was written across her cockpit. Her timer blinked out. No countdown left, only silence and survival. Smoke coiled over the desert like a bruise on the earth. Tempest-3 limped north, one engine sputtering, the other growling low. Holt's hands were slick with blood and sweat, her breath steady only by willpower. The cockpit smelled of oil and ozone. Her cracked canopy whistled with air leaks, sunlight slicing across her face. The hog's alarms flickered between warning and surrender. She checked the timer dead. Fuel at 6%, range barely enough to clear the salt flats. Elias's voice broke through static. Tamsin, can you hear me? The transport's gone. The uranium's contained. It's over. Holt wiped her visor with her glove, eyes fixed on the horizon. No, Elias, she said softly. It's just beginning. Ahead. Faint dots shimmered against the haze, 2 F-16s returning to escort her home. Their silhouettes cut clean lines through the amber sky. She almost laughed. Late to the party. Boys, Tempest-3, this is Falcon Lead. We've got you visual. We're guiding you to a landing strip 15 miles out. Copy, she answered, voice quiet but even. I'll try to bring her down in one piece. The hog groaned in agreement. At 5 miles, hydraulics began to die. Flaps stuck half deployed. She adjusted manually, every motion like dragging steel cables through mud. Warning landing gear compromised. The system whispered. Noted. Holt muttered, We'll fake it. She trimmed nose down, watching the ground rise toward her. The F-16s followed at distance, their pilot silent now. They had seen what she'd done. They knew this wasn't just another sortie, it was the end of something bigger. The A-10 slammed into the ground hard, skidding across dust and gravel. Metal screamed. Sparks trailed her path like a comet. For a second, Holt thought she'd blacked out, but then the hog slowed, settling heavy into silence. Engines wound down with a dying sigh. She leaned forward, forehead resting against the cracked glass. Outside, the desert wind howled through the fractures. Rescue jeeps approached in a blur of dust and headlights. Elias was in the first one, jumping out before the wheels even stopped. He ran to the base of the ladder, shouting, You're insane! You know that she climbed down slow. Every step a protest from her legs. Blood still seeped through her sleeve, but her eyes were cold and steady. Insane kept them from crossing the border. She said. Elias stared at the hog, half burned, half alive. Tempest-3 shouldn't have flown again, he whispered. She's stubborn, Holt replied. Like her pilot. A team of soldiers began sealing off the crash site. One lifted a blackened piece of metal from the wreck. The engraving caught the Light Stormlight Neural Core V3, 2-unit incomplete. Elias turned pale. 3.2 means multiple versions. They made more than one. How many, Holt asked. 2 at least, he said quietly. Maybe more. The words sank into her like ice. So this wasn't about stopping them. She said. It was containment. Elias nodded grimly. And you were the blueprint. A military convoy arrived minutes later, unmarked trucks. Men in plain uniforms. The lead officer approached, clipboard in hand. Major Holt, he said flatly. Command requests immediate debrief. You'll ride with us. Holt looked back at her A-10 still smoking in the dying light. Give her a real hangar this time, she said. She's earned it. The officer said nothing, just gestured toward the transport. Inside the armored vehicle, silence pressed heavy. Across from her, a younger pilot, Captain Arden Blake, studied her quietly. He was the one who'd mocked her call sign earlier. Ma'am, he said finally, voice steady but soft. You saved lives up there. I didn't think an old hog could still do that. Holt looked out the window at the fading sky. Old machines only fail when their pilots do, she said. The convoy drove through the desert until night fell. Stars bled across the sky, sharp and endless. Elias spoke again, low enough only she could hear. There's a closed Senate hearing tomorrow. They'll call this unsanctioned combat. You could lose everything. Holt smiled faintly. They already took everything. I just took it back. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. 72 hours later, Washington, D.C., a room with no cameras. 6 senators seated behind polished wood. Holt stood before them in her worn flight jacket, bandage across her arm. Major, one said, you destroyed $80 million of aircraft without clearance. Explain. She placed a small drive on the table. They built weapons out of my brain, she said evenly. I had the right to destroy them. A long pause followed. The lead senator exhaled. This conversation never happened. But if you ever fly again, we'll be watching. Holt's lips curved slightly. So will Stormlight. That night, she returned to the hangar. Tempest-3 sat stripped and broken, still reeking of fuel and heat. The tarp was gone. The machine was bare to the wind. She stood beside the fuselage, running her hand along the dented armor. The shark mouth was scorched black, but the eyes still glared. The hog had survived too many endings to stop now. Holt pulled a small object from her pocket, the neural chip she'd taken from the cockpit's circuit bay. It glimmered under the hangar light, faint pulse still beating inside. T H-03. She slipped it into a steel case and locked it away. "Let them watch," she said softly. "They'll never see this coming." Her voice echoed in the empty hangar like a vow. Outside. Thunder rolled far to the west. A storm was forming beyond the mountains, dark and heavy. She glanced toward it. Expression unreadable. The radio on her workbench hissed once, then a voice, mechanical and cold. "Major Holt, we are not done." She smiled without looking up. "Neither am I." The lights dimmed, leaving only the silhouette of woman and warplane. Same framing as years ago, but this time, the tarp stayed off. Tempest-3 stood uncovered, defiant, ready. The stormlight flickered through the open hangar doors, painting her face in silver. And for the first time in years, Holt whispered not to the machine, but to herself. "They stole my instincts." She slid on her gloves. Time to take them back. The engines of distant thunder answered her. A new hunt had already begun. If you enjoyed the story, consider sending a super chat to help bring more stories like this. Now, click on the video on the screen to hear another story that's just as powerful and captivating, with courage, sacrifice, and a choice that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about duty and justice.